It's definitely something that's being discussed. It's been around academia as long as I've been around. And I think there are some big strides being made. The more, first of all, our knowledge is receiving the credit that it deserves. And secondly, there are more of us with the keys to the ivory tower. So I think those two things are working to make it more clear to outsiders that we do possess really incredible knowledge. It always shocks me that people don't know that. It's weird, because you cannot have society and you cannot have culture without having like thoughts, an educational system, theories. You know, every society needs these things in order to operate. So it boggles my mind that people don't comprehend that these things exist in other ways that you don't recognize. I don't understand that. Anyway, so I think for me personally, so I started at university in about 1999, 2001, and I still am at a university, so I haven't really left. And in that time, there has been, I think, a deepening of an understanding that the best situation is that Indigenous peoples present our own knowledge on our own terms. And on the way to getting there, there have been plenty of non-Indigenous researchers doing their thing to greater or lesser abilities. And the lesser abilities would be those people who are doing so in an extractive manner, which we can still see happening today. And one thing I didn't necessarily see in your podcast yet was we're having that, and we're having people who pretend to be Indigenous in order to perform those extractive practices. So when it comes to doing that, I think that we have a best case scenario, and we have a second case scenario. And then we have a third case. So the best one, Indigenous peoples doing their own research for their own purposes, top. Second, Indigenous research working with Indigenous communities for Indigenous sovereignty. Like, I work in Indigenous Studies department, and something I remind myself all the time is this work is supposed to support Indigenous sovereignty. That's it. I mean, there's more to it, but that's like a main goal. So is the work doing that? And then the third option is the non-Indigenous researcher doing work that supports Indigenous sovereignty and supports Indigenous peoples. So absolutely, we have that conversation. I think because people pretend to be Indigenous to have access, and people choose Indigenous topics in order to get funding because it's seen as exotic and exciting and sexy, and there's a small amount of resources that are scarce in academia. So there's definitely a lot of people who are doing such research for the wrong reasons and have done so and have built entire careers. And I think they're primarily aging out, which is good. But I hope there aren't new people taking their place. It's a very slow process, I think.